By the early 1770s, the 13 colonies of North America were changing. Their streets were crowded, their harbors filled with ships, and their people stronger and more confident than ever before. Yet beneath the noise of markets and the laughter in taverns, something else stirred. Anger, frustration, a burning desire for justice. For generations, the colonists had seen themselves as loyal subjects of the British Crown, but now they were beginning to question whether loyalty still made sense. They paid taxes they never agreed to. They obeyed laws they never helped create. They watched British soldiers roam their streets as if the colonies were conquered lands. This is the story of how ordinary farmers, merchants, craftsmen, and families found themselves marching step by step toward a revolution that would reshape the world. This is the road to revolution.
After the French and Indian War ended in 1763, Britain owned vast new territories, but also massive debt. The war had cost the empire more than £122 million, nearly bankrupting its treasury. Britain believed the American colonies should help pay part of the expense, since the war had protected them. Parliament passed the Stamp Act of 1765, the first direct tax on the colonies. Every printed document needed a paid stamp. Newspapers, playing cards, legal papers, even marriage licenses. For the average colonist, these costs were more than a burden. They were a warning. A powerful idea spread through the colonies: no taxation without representation. At the time, the colonies had 0 seats in the British Parliament. They had no vote, no voice, no chance to defend themselves. And yet, their money was being taken. Taverns buzzed with debate, town halls filled with angry citizens, and newspapers printed fiery essays attacking British overreach. In just months, protests from Boston to Charleston forced Parliament to repeal the Stamp Act. But Britain was not finished. The struggle had only begun.
Tea was more than a drink. It was part of everyday life. Colonists consumed millions of cups each year, and Britain saw it as the perfect product to control. So, in 1773, Parliament passed the Tea Act, placing a heavy tax on imported tea. But the colonists were furious, not because of the price, but because Britain gave a monopoly to the East India Company, one of the world's richest corporations. On December 16, 1773, the Sons of Liberty decided enough was enough. In the cold Boston night, 116 men, disguised as Mohawk Indians, climbed aboard 3 ships: the Dartmouth, the Eleanor, and the Beaver. For hours, they dumped 342 chests, more than 90,000 pounds of tea, into the harbor. That would be nearly $1.7 million worth of tea today. Some colonists cheered, others feared British punishment, but no one could deny it. The Boston Tea Party was a declaration that the colonies would no longer quietly obey. Scene 3. The Intolerable Acts. Britain's anger unleashed. Britain was furious. To them, the Boston Tea Party wasn't protest, it was rebellion. So in 1774, Parliament passed the Coercive Acts, which the colonists soon renamed the Intolerable Acts. These laws were harsh. Boston Harbor was closed until the tea was repaid. Town meetings were restricted. British soldiers could live freely in colonial homes. Massachusetts was placed under military rule. But Britain miscalculated. These punishments didn't break the colonies. They united them. For the first time in history, leaders from all 13 colonies gathered at the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia. They represented farmers, merchants, lawyers, and craftsmen, but they all agreed on one thing: colonial rights must be defended. In April 1775, British General Thomas Gage received orders to seize colonial weapons stored in Concord. To prevent an uprising, he planned a secret night march, nearly 700 soldiers moving quietly through the dark. But the colonists were ready.
2 lanterns glowed from the Old North Church tower. Paul Revere and other riders sped through the countryside, warning, "The British are coming." At dawn on April 19, 1775, British troops reached Lexington. Waiting for them were 77 American militia, farmers, blacksmiths, and shopkeepers holding their ground. A tense silence. A single gunshot shattered the morning. No one knows who fired it, but history would remember it as the shot heard round the world. The British advanced. 8 colonists died. 10 were wounded. But in Concord, hundreds of armed colonists ambushed the British troops. By the end of the day, Britain had lost 73 soldiers, with more than 170 wounded or missing. America had gone from protest to war. After Lexington and Concord, thousands of colonists grabbed their muskets and rushed toward Boston. Within days, 15,000 militia surrounded the city, trapping the British Army inside. Tensions escalated further at the Battle of Bunker Hill in June 1775. The colonists, outnumbered and low on ammunition, fought with stunning courage. They held off wave after wave of British attacks before finally retreating, only after they ran out of gunpowder. Although the British won the hill, they suffered over 1,000 casualties, twice the losses of the colonists. It proved a shocking truth. The colonists could stand up to the greatest army on earth.
Even as bloodshed spread, not all colonists wanted independence. Many still hoped for peace with Britain. Others, like John Adams and Patrick Henry, argued that freedom was the only path forward. The debate was fierce, emotional, and uncertain. In the end, the violence in Massachusetts, the refusal of King George III to negotiate, and the growing unity of the colonies turned the tide. By mid-1776, one question filled every tavern, every newspaper, every home. Should America break free? In June 1776, the Continental Congress chose Thomas Jefferson, a quiet but brilliant Virginia statesman, to draft a declaration. For 17 days, Jefferson wrote in a small rented room, crafting the words that would redefine liberty for generations. He wrote of equality, natural rights, and the pursuit of happiness. He wrote of tyranny, the abuse of power, and the right of a people to break free. On July 4, 1776, after debate and revision, the Congress approved the document. Bells rang throughout Philadelphia. Crowds gathered and cheered. The colonies were no longer rebels, they were Americans. The road to revolution was not a single moment, it was 1,000 steps, taken by thousands of people, driven by hope, anger, courage, and belief. The Declaration of Independence was not the end of the struggle. It was the beginning of a war for survival, a war that would test the strength of a new nation, a war that would prove whether the Americans could truly claim their freedom. Next episode: The American Revolution, 1776 to 1783, the battles that shaped a nation, and the victory that stunned the world.